First of all, it's nice to see you back at Ashton Gate. What's it like? Is it like being back home?
It is, there's no doubt in that. Very fond of the area and obviously got a massive affiliation with the club, and I've got to be honest, I'm dead chuffed and delighted to be back.
3.5-year contract with Bristol City. What are your ambitions for the football club in the next 3.5 years?
Well, the ambitions is continue the progression, both on and off the field, develop some of the younger players that we've got within the academy of real talent, recruit as best as we can, sustainable, and go and, of course, aim for the Premiership. And I've got no doubt that if we do all those and tick all those boxes, then we'll have a really good chance of competing in it.
Yes, of course, short term, keep Bristol City in the Championship, but your father was 90 minutes away from achieving Premier League football at this football club. How confident are you that you can realise the dream that the owner, Steve Lansdown, this brand new stadium, that's the dream at this football club, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is a dream, and it's realistic, it's not unrealistic. At the moment, obviously, there's a short-term plan. We've got to stay in the division, and then we've got to continue to build. It's a tough league, but we've got some good players, it's a really good infrastructure, some good coaches at the club, and it's just a case of trying to add the sparkle, both in terms of playing style, playing quality, and obviously try and bring to the table what I do.
You spent 6 years winning over the supporters as a player at Bristol City. How important is their support now you're the head coach at Bristol City?
No, definitely, it's huge. It's the most important thing. The fan base is the lifeblood of any club, and it's a very educated bunch here. I understand when I was playing here, I played for my dad, and could be a bit of a Marmite type player. I think divided fan opinion, I think it's fair to embrace that, but I think it's completely different now. You step into the managerial type scenario. I've had over pretty much coming up to about 200 games now as a head coach, and although I'm inexperienced at championship level, I do feel that anything that could come at me has, and like I say, I'm just very, very excited, and can't wait to get my teeth into it and get the players on the grass, really.
You are only 34, you've been in charge at Oldham, most recently Barnsley. How do you reflect on your managerial career so far?
It's been crazy. It's been a whirlwind, as you'd expect from any managerial career. Generally successful, but of course it's like a spiral because you've many ups and downs. I'd like to certainly achieve some silverware. We got Barnsley to the JPT final, and in one sense it's disappointing to have to leave on that note because it was a good club, but when Bristol City come calling and it's my club, if you like, well, that's how I feel. It's impossible to turn that opportunity down.
Mark Ashton, you told me on Saturday that Lee was your first choice. Why did it take 3 weeks to come to a decision?
I think you have to follow a process, and you have to do your homework. I think as a board we sat down and discussed what we wanted from a head coach, what he looked like and what his technical capabilities were. I think once we'd done that, we went through a process. You know, I had a list of people that I obviously would recommend. The board had their own list, and I spoke to key people who I trust in the industry, and bizarrely those 3 lists were very similar. And this gentleman's name was on all 3. I think if you look at my history of appointing managers and head coaches, there's a criteria and a similarity between all of them. I like to appoint young, up-and-coming, bright people who are very hungry and have a desire to succeed. And Lee fits that criteria perfectly. He's been in demand. There are other clubs that would take his coaching services tomorrow. So once I got the opportunity to sit down with him and to actually take time to talk to him, to understand what Lee was about, and to make sure that what I thought was actually the case, there is no question he was always going to be first choice.
Yeah, the supporters I spoke to at the Valley on Saturday were talking, like I'm sure they have to you, David Moyes, Nigel Pearson. Did you speak to those 2 individuals? It
would be very unprofessional of me to say who I spoke to, but I've spoken to a lot of people, and this gentleman stood out like a shiny pin. He's very bright, as I've said, very, very detailed in his approach, and the way he wants to work fits the way we want to operate this football club and how we want to take the football club and how we want to take the football department forward. The time I believe is rightfully Lee Johnson. You know, I think he's earned his stripes, and he fully deserves his opportunity here.
Lee, a couple more questions before I wrap up. You're a head coach, not a manager. Does that make any difference?
Well, I think in the modern day structure it's important that it's not just it's moved away from the old school, if you like. It's a big organisation now. You see Bristol Sport, you see a new stadium, and to do it properly you need masters of your field, and what you don't want to be a jack of all trades and master of none. And I feel obviously it's important for me to really focus on the players. Of course the recruitment side of it as well is massive, and will go through me as well as the team and everybody else. But by the same token, it's really important that each different field keeps producing, and that is a way for us to get where we want to be. If you look at all the top clubs in the world now, they're all moving into that sort of category.
And your coaching team, you'll be working with John Pemberton, who did a tremendous job over the last few weeks. You've worked with Tommy Wright. Will he have a role to play, or is that not going to happen?
Well, similar. Obviously Tommy Wright's contracted to Barnsley, and he's a fantastic assistant manager. But we've also got some really good staff here, and John has got a very good reputation in football, not only as a football man as far as his coaching, but as a man and as a human being. And I've had brief conversations with him in the past, now more detailed conversations, and we're very aligned in the way we're thinking, and you know what I mean, I look forward to a long relationship.
Have you met the players yet?
Yes, I've met the players. I shook their hand, congratulated them after the game and the win, the fantastic win at Charlton, and then this morning I've gone over some of my thoughts on the game as far as some analysis. And no, it's a good bunch. I know it's a good bunch of lads. Obviously I was playing against them last year. They've got spirit, which means that we've got a great chance to achieve some great things.
And finally, first home game on Saturday. Will the bounce be making a return to Ashton?
Well, the bounce might, but my dancing won't, because I've seen my old man's dancing and it makes me cringe every time he does it. So, no, from my point of view, of course, if there's one thing you want to inherit, it's that song, because everybody loves it. It gets the crowd going, and it warms them up, particularly on a cold day when they're bouncing around in the stand.
I wish you well. Thanks for joining us live on BBC Radio Bristol.
Thank you.
Lee, the one big reservation the fans seem to have is that you don't have the experience to fight a relegation battle. Do you?
Oh well, I think obviously a relegation battle in the Championship, that's fair to say. But I think if you look at so far, when I went in to Oldham, I was an absolute rookie with my B licence, and there was uproar at the time because there was 10 games while they were in the relegation zone, and I was on pretty much a 10-game contract to keep them in a division, and we managed to win 5, draw 2, so that was the first point. And then when Barnsley actually paid for my services from Oldham, there was a couple of points above the relegation zone at the time, managed to go on a fantastic run, and actually get in the playoffs. 6 wins on the spin, 2 from the caretakers and then 4 from me, and we done okay. So for me it's about the process of putting a team out, getting them organised and getting them confident, really, because I think these modern day players, they need that confidence and they need that belief in themselves and their teammates, and we can only get that if we stick together, whether that be the supporters, the head coach, the players. And that can be very powerful when all that sort of unifies.
Do you have any doubts that you can pull them out of this trouble?
Listen, all I can promise you is that I'll give everything I can, and the players will. I know that for sure, because they're a good bunch. I don't know the future, but I know we'll give ourselves a great chance if we continue with the type of spirit they had on Saturday, and if the players can take in quickly, which I think they will be able to, my sort of ethos and philosophies on the game, and it'll be exciting. I'm excited, and certainly no negatives from me. I'm ready to hit the ground running, ready to go.
What is your philosophy on the game?
Well, I think my philosophy is to build a group of bright, young, hungry players that are certainly keen to progress. Now, whether that's with Bristol City, of course, hopefully, but if not, then they inevitably get bought and become Premiership players. By the same token, I want to play a good brand of exciting attacking football, because I feel that I know what this general public, particularly in Bristol, want. And there have been some great City sides in the past, and they've always had a make-up that the fans can affiliate to and be comfortable with, and I'll be trying to put together that blend. And luckily, because I've been here, I do feel that I understand what the general public want.
How realistic is it to hope for Premier League football here?
I don't think it's unrealistic. I think at the moment there's there's a process that we've got to go through to get there, and it's evolving, you know. And I'm here for 3.5 years. I hope, hopefully longer. I'd love to be the man, more than anything in the world, to take this team and club into the Premiership. But we can't get ahead of ourselves, and we have to make sure that we focus on the job in hand. And in the meantime, that's Saturday.
What are your aims ultimately? I mean, if it doesn't happen here, presumably you want to be a Premier League manager.
Listen, I'm ambitious. There's no doubt in that. I'm very hungry to do well. It's in my blood. It's what I do, if you like, football. I love it. It's hard. There's no doubt is that, because things get thrown up at you every day that test your resolve. But if it's in your blood, you can't do anything else. And for me, I would love to be at this club for a very long time and to achieve Premiership status and to compete with the top coaches in the world in the Premier League. That's obviously my ambitions and my dreams, and I feel like I've come to a place where, given the backing of the supporters and the board and Steve, that I've known for a long time, and he's probably one of the best chairmen you could get as far as ownership of the club, just due to himself as a man as well, not only as a backer. But for me, the potential is endless, and that's what excites me.
You say it's in your blood. It certainly is, isn't it? What does your dad think about all this?
Well, he hasn't stopped going on, to be honest. I stayed at his house last night, and I was watching the analysis. I had to keep him out of the way because he kept peering over my shoulder, giving me points. But listen, as a father, of course, he's very proud, just like I am of him and his achievements. But it's now time for me to sort of break free of that Gary Johnson mould at Bristol City, and kick on as head coach of a fantastic club.